Joining us right now, former Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush, Fox News contributor Karl Rove. Karl, good to see you. Good to see you, and great to be on with the law firm of Willis, Kelly, and Freeman. Thank you. We appreciate that. It's a new firm. It was formed when the firm of Nasty, Brutish, and Short broke up.
Yeah, we're billing you for this segment.
And it's all about America. So good idea to add this repeal of the Obamacare mandate into the bill. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because the House, there's a lot of interest in the House in getting this done. But talking to people on the House side, House members were concerned if they added it into their version, it would make it more difficult to pass in the Senate. Now, I think this is probably the result of, starting in April 25th, the Gang of Six, the Speaker of the House, the Majority Leader, the Director of the National Economic Council, the Chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, Chairman of House Ways and Means, and the Secretary of Treasury have been meeting since then. And my suspicion is that Orrin Hatch got a very clear signal the House was not going to move first on this. If the Senate wanted it, they'd be willing to accept it, but the House didn't want to do something that would be turned down in the Senate. And so he's moved with it. And the signs are that Murkowski, Collins, and McCain, the three senators who blocked the skinny repeal measure, are open to this removal of the tax. Remember, this is a tax. The Supreme Court held that it was a tax. If you don't have health insurance, it's up to 3% of your adjusted gross income is taken in the form of a tax when you file your income tax return starting next April.
And the Obama administration tried to make believe that it wasn't a tax.
Sure.
Saying that it was a penalty. It's a tax, James.
Yeah, I don't know. Karl, do you think we ought to be looking a little more kindly on John Roberts' very political decision in the summer of 2012 to somehow manage to call this a tax?
Well, that was one of the so-called trade-offs, was to label this a tax, and the other one was to put some constraints on the court's ability to use the Commerce Clause in an expansive way. I'm still a little disappointed that he didn't go all the way and count Obamacare as unconstitutional, but it is what it is, and this is an opening. It'll be interesting to see if the House is not going to change. Yesterday I had conversations when the rumors were flying about this happening. House does not appear that it's going to add it. They're going to wait and see if it goes to conference and the Senate has a bill that includes this. It's $340 billion additional in savings, budget savings. If the Senate passes it, you can bet the House is going to accept it in the conference committee.
Karl, Jerry here. Quick question. Would removing the mandate, would it KO Obamacare? Would it kill Obamacare?
Well, you heard Schumer say two things that were incorrect. One, that we're taking away people's health care. No, we're not taking away people's health care. We're saying that we're going to remove the tax that we affix to you if you don't buy health insurance. That's not taking away their health care. And second of all, look, there's a second issue here of skyrocketing premiums. The premiums are going to go up under the Affordable Care Act.
They already are
because
up.
The structure, yeah, they're already up, and they're going to keep going up because the Affordable Care Act is fundamentally flawed and broken. It requires a lot of young people who are healthy to pay higher than normal premiums in order to subsidize the coverage of those between roughly age 55 and 64, and that ain't going to change because of this.
Yeah.
But what they promised to do was to follow on with the so-called Alexander Murray, Lamar Alexander of Tennessee, Patty Murray of Washington State, Republican Alexander Murray, Democrat, who reinstitute the subsidies to the insurance companies to cover the increases in the premiums for those below a certain income level. That's going to take care of the premium. Yes, premiums are going to continue to go up, but the taxpayer is going to be picking up the tab for those below a certain income level, low income and moderate income people who are forced into the exchanges.
I'll take that as a no.
Schumer was wrong.
That as a no.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Take that as a nerdish no. A nerdish no.
Karl, as the market participant here of this law firm, I wanted to get your take on whether this is actually going to get done by December, and if this complicates or convolutes the matter even further, because I know the market is anticipating something gets done this year. Could this kick the can into March should they not get any formal decision on whether they keep or take out the mandate?
Well, I think that's a quick decision. I mean, my suspicion is that Hatch has talked to some of the Collins, Murkowski, and and McCain. You also heard Senator Kennedy of Louisiana in the footage say, "I'm for this as long as it doesn't bollocks it up." If they don't have the votes to pass this with it in it, they'll quickly move it out. So yeah, no, I don't think it. And look, they're focused on one date, December 12th. They need to get this thing done before the Alabama special election. In the event that the Democrats take that Alabama seat against Judge Roy Moore, so they're moving this at light speed for Congress. And my suspicion is, yes, we'll pass it through the House tomorrow. My sense is that the week after Thanksgiving, they'll bring it up and pass it through the Senate. They'll go quickly to conference, and they'll be back on the floor by the 11th and 12th of December.
Good.
To pass it.
We'll see how long it takes for the actual economic movement to take place. Let me switch gears, Carl. I got to ask you about this because the game company Cards Against Humanity is taking aim at President Trump's proposed border wall for the latest holiday promotion. So the company says this: we've purchased a plot of vacant land on the border and retained a law firm specializing in eminent domain to make it as time-consuming and expensive as possible for this wall to get built. For $15, customers who sign up will get a map of the land along with what they call other surprises. What's your reaction?
I think it's a laughable promotion. It got them talking about the game and got their name in the
I guess so,
in front
yeah.
of people. But the idea of A, buying land, and B, if it is a place where a wall is needed, we have the $3 trillion plus federal government and the tiny dinky little entertainment company. And the big government has the power of eminent domain, and the little company has $15 contributions to sustain their law firm. I know how that contest is going to come out.
Carl, I share the optimism that this individual mandate repeal is going to get in there. I know that Senate leadership has whipped members. They're getting a good response. This wouldn't be dropped in unless they were getting a very good response. But I'm wondering, as we think about how they use that money that this frees up to cut more taxes, I'm hoping one thing they do versus the original Senate draft is have those corporate rate reductions start immediately. Do you think members you've talked to on the Hill understand the political necessity of getting growth going next year, not in 2019?
Real quick, Carl.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope that's what they use it for. And if there's anything, that's about a $100 billion plus price tag to bring it forward. So they got some extra space in there, and they're talking about using that extra space to for middle class tax cuts and lowering the top rate. We'll see how it all works out.
Or
Kelly shouldn't have been so hard on Dr. Mike on the beard. At least he's trying. Incidentally, let's see your beard, Kelly.
Thank you, sir. Karl Rove joining us there.